Pedro, a man in his mid-30s, spent his days in an office, a sea of identical cubicles where dreams often got lost amidst the clatter of keyboards. His life was a predictable routine, yet Pedro harbored a quiet hope in his heart for a calmer life, perhaps a small business of his own, a place where he could cultivate something more than numbers. Each morning, the aroma of coffee and the city's murmur were his only companions, a reminder that, despite the monotony, life still offered small joys.
One ordinary Tuesday, on his way home, Pedro stopped at the small corner store, a daily habit to buy the newspaper. He had never believed in the lottery, considering it a tax on hope. But that day, a strange pang, an inexplicable feeling, pushed him towards the ticket counter. Just one, he thought, just in case. He paid for the ticket with a mix of skepticism and unusual curiosity, feeling a slight tingle in his stomach. In the quiet of his kitchen, after a simple dinner, Pedro took out the ticket. With a coin, he began to scratch the surface without much expectation. One number, another, and then the third. His eyes widened. The numbers aligned, one after another, forming the winning sequence. At first, a strong denial. Then, the slow, undeniable comprehension that the impossible had happened. An uncontrollable tremor ran through his body. The coin fell from his fingers. A gasp escaped his lips, a mix of disbelief and overwhelming euphoria. Laughter mingled with tears that welled in his eyes. Who to call first? Without hesitation, he dialed his sister, Elena. She had always been his anchor, his confidant, the only person he fully trusted to share the most impactful news of his life. The first days were a whirlwind. Suddenly, his wardrobe was filled with elegant suits, and a gleaming car waited in the street, a striking contrast to his modest apartment. News of his fortune spread like wildfire. Distant relatives he hadn't seen in years, old schoolmates he barely remembered, all appeared out of nowhere, with overly wide smiles and veiled requests. A mix of doubt and euphoria invaded him, a sense of unreality. Pedro's nights filled with dazzling parties and spontaneous trips to exotic places. He was surrounded by new friends, glamorous, superficial people who praised him and encouraged him to spend without restraint. Among them was Luna, a woman with an easy laugh and bright eyes, always by his side. Pedro enjoyed the attention, the novelty, but a subtle unease began to take root within him, a feeling that something wasn't quite right.
Tensions began to arise, especially with Elena. She watched his new lifestyle and the people around him with concern. Her warnings were gentle at first, then more insistent. "Pedro, be careful," she would say. "Not everyone has good intentions." But Pedro, blinded by the glitter of his new life, dismissed her worries, believing Elena didn't understand his happiness. The distance between them grew, a painful rift in their relationship. Pedro's wealth had brought him company, but also a deep loneliness. His true friends, those who knew him before the golden ticket, had drifted away, feeling forgotten or used. The difficulty in trusting anyone became a constant burden. Every smile, every invitation, every friend was scrutinized with suspicion. Despite being surrounded by people, Pedro felt increasingly isolated, a prisoner of his own fortune. The breaking point came with the devastating betrayal. Luna, the woman who had been constantly by his side, misled him into a reckless investment, emptying a significant portion of his fortune. The blow was brutal. Pedro found himself alone, heartbroken, and with a depleted bank account. In that moment, he questioned if all the money had been worth it, if the loss of his peace of mind and his genuine relationships wasn't too high a price. Pedro learned the most valuable lesson of his life. Money could not buy happiness or peace. He began to invest in meaningful things: education, community projects, and a small business he had always dreamed of, focused on helping others. Most importantly, he reconciled with Elena, rebuilding the bridge that wealth had broken. True wealth, Pedro discovered, was not measured in a bank account, but in purpose, human connections, and peace of mind.